You're watching Cable 2.
Good evening and welcome to the October 8th, 2019 Winston-Salem Forsyth County Board of Education meeting. I am Shay Woodbury, Board Chair, and I appreciate your attendance. And I also say good evening to our viewers on Cable 2. Before we get to the business at hand, tonight we are first going to swear in our new board members. So if Marilyn Parker can come up, and of course, Chief District Court Judge of the 21st Judicial District, Judge Lisa Menifee, will come in and swear her in. That would be absolutely wonderful so we can get our meeting started.
Do you, Marilyn Parker, solemnly and sincerely swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States, that you will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the state of North Carolina, to the constitutional powers and authorities which are or may be established, to the government thereof, that you will endeavor to support, maintain, and defend the Constitution of this state, not inconsistent with the Constitution of the United States, that you will well and truly execute the duties of the office as a member of the Winston-Salem Forsyth County Board of Education according to the best of your skills and abilities, according to law, so help you God. Congratulations and thank you.
Thank you, Judge Menifee. Can we please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and our invocation?
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. We are thankful tonight to meet together for a successful outcome from our meeting. May the decisions reflect what is right and good for all our Winston-Salem Forsyth County schools. Amen.
I would like to recognize the Hispanic Heritage Month, which started September the 15th and ends October the 15th, as we recognize the contributions and vital presence of both Hispanic and Latino Americans to the U.S. and to observe their Native heritage and contribution to our culture, which began in 1968 with the passage of the law by President Lyndon Baines Johnson. And I would also like to take this time to welcome Marilyn Parker as our new board member. Thank you. The first item of business is our agenda review. There are a few items that we need to adjust on the agenda. So one, we need to remove the part B of our discussion item, which is the discussion of the AIG plan revision, and we also need to remove action item A, consider approval of the AIG plan revisions. In addition, we need to add item G for a discussion item, which is the draft of the mission and vision for the strategic plan. And we also need to add an action item to consider, action item G, which would be to consider approval of the draft of the mission and vision for the strategic plan. And then lastly, we need to add an additional action item for the approval of the resolution for the Big Four Alumni Association. With these changes, can I get a motion to approve the amended agenda?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. The next item of business is the public comments on our agenda items. And first, we have, I think this is McNeil Cronin. And it would be helpful if you know that you've signed up for the public agenda items, if you would just come on up to the front so that we can keep a really good flow of public comments. So first we have McNeil Cronin.
Thank you, Chair Woodbury.
Before you get started, if you are speaking for the public comments on the agenda items, if you come up to the front row, that would be super helpful right now. Thank you. I'll let them come up so you're not interrupted with people walking behind you. Thank you. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Woodbury. At past meetings, you have made impassioned pledges to promote the equity and inclusion of all students in this county, and I couldn't agree more. And that is why it is so concerning that this district has recently been found guilty of the discrimination and segregation of a kindergarten student with a disability. This student is my daughter. We know this is not an isolated incident. Tragically, the practice of separate and unequal is alive and well in 2019. Separate schools, separate buses, separate trailers, separate playgrounds. For all of the talk on equity and inclusion, you have one area in glaring violation of the civil rights of students, and that is in the delivery of education to students with intellectual disabilities. And federal law is crystal clear here, that children with disabilities are to be included in regular education to the greatest extent possible. But far too often, our school district does the exact opposite. We have placed our limited resources in separate self-contained classrooms sprinkled across the district, and we then go about the business of targeting children with disabilities for transfer to those segregated settings. This verdict tells the story of a child in her first days of kindergarten, taken away from her friends and classmates and being forced to attend a separate school in a completely segregated trailer with virtually no access to her non-disabled peers. All of this sanctioned by the highest administrators of your EC department. This verdict describes decisions by county leaders that were wrong, illegal, and supported by not a single piece of educational research. In fact, every bit of research in the last 40 years says that including children with disabilities is better for all students, and not just in an objective, warm, accepting way, but in an objective way. Higher math scores, higher science scores, higher graduation rates. I believe it's because something very special happens when a school district opens its classroom doors to all students and becomes truly inclusive. This is not an opinion. This is not one side of the story. This is a verdict from a state judge saying this district broke the law. To ignore this like you have for the past 7 weeks shows a frightening disregard for our judicial system by this school board. If you have administrators or principals that violate federal law and are found to be not credible, then you do, then hold them accountable. There will be more lawsuits, and this is not a threat, but it's an accurate reading of the movement that is happening across our county, our state, and across our country. Disability discrimination is illegal. Begin to provide all children of all abilities the meaningful inclusion that they deserve. It is my sincere hope that at least 5 of you possess the leadership and the courage to stand up for the civil rights of all students, especially those with disabilities. Show the parents of this county that you have heard the wake-up call, that you are not ignoring this case and inviting more lawsuits, that you are holding the employees accountable who violated the civil rights of my daughter, and that you are committed to ending disability discrimination in our county. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Mr. Alan Daniel.
Good evening, Chair Woodbury, members of the board. Dr. Harrison, I'm going to read an email that I sent you last night with some corrections. It is not possible to put into words how angry and frustrated I am to see the I-Station contract for $400,000 on the agenda. Really? And how much every year after this year? Another $400,000? For $400,000, you could hire 5 experienced reading teachers, that's pay and benefits, and really teach kids how to read. For the past few decades, the district has refused to pay teachers and ESPs what they are worth, choosing instead to spend untold millions on the next software silver bullet. Start hiring people instead of buying software. And this advice is coming from a software developer with almost 40 years in the field. Software is great for solving problems, complex problems like your accounting software you're going to discuss later. It is pretty well worthless as a teaching tool. If we had invested as many millions in teacher pay over the past 3 decades as we have flushed down the toilet in software silver bullets, we would have the best and the best paid educators in the state. And we would have test scores near the top instead of near the bottom of the state. Look back at the data. We talk about data-driven. When has the next software silver bullet achieved better growth? Never. In fact, over the last few decades, we're going backwards. If none has, why would you buy the next one? I will make you a promise. Give teachers classroom autonomy. Give them the support with disruptive students that they need. Give them the ESP support they need, and you will see growth. I know it's not sexy. It doesn't look like you're doing something to solve the problem, like spending $400,000 on a software silver bullet. But it will be the best thing you could actually do. Watch what happens. What do you have to lose? Nothing to this point has worked. Quit buying software and invest in the only thing that works. Educators. The data proves it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Daniel. I was remiss that Mr. Alfred comes up to kind of make a disclaimer about this session being 3 minutes, and also making sure that this time is only for our agenda items, so any comments that are being made are specifically aligned to our agenda discussion and, of course, our action items tonight. And I would just ask that you be mindful of any personnel or sensitive issues that could impact, our children. This is not towards you, Mr. Harper. I just thought that I didn't read my disclaimer, which I apologize for the members that came up initially. So I would just ask that you keep these things in mind for the rest of you that come up and speak for public comments for the agenda items tonight. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Harvey.
Chairwoman Woodbury, distinguished board, Dr. Harrison, it is indeed a pleasure for me to stand before you again. But before I get to what I want to talk about, I want to echo my support for Mr. McNeil Cronin and his child. I think this board owes that family and owes them a great deal. And I think that you should look at yourself in the mirror and make certain that you're doing the right thing with kids. Having had a lot of kids who are disabled, in my classes at Atkins High School, I do know that all kids can learn, and those kids had a wholesome environment in which to learn in, but I made certain that happened. But what I want to talk about today is this community and neighborhood initiative. I have been in a meeting where you all have discussed this community and neighborhood initiative, but I did attend 2 out of the 3 meetings on that neighborhood. I didn't attend one because I was here with you and not at that meeting. So that I would have attended all 3. But what I'm asking you to do, because I did not see any of you at those meetings. And so when I look at the discussion items and the action items, I see where this board will vote to approve such. And I don't know how you can vote to approve something if you were not there to hear the people in the neighborhood talk about it. If you were not a part of the discussion. Generally, when you have those types of things, you're part of the discussion. I think you have Ms. Parker on the board now, and there was a time when we talked about the bonds, and we had meetings at Parkland High School and all these other places. The board members were there to hear what the community had to say. I say to you today, in your action item, please do not rubber stamp something that you are not totally abreast of and not familiar with. I have been engaged and involved with Ashley and the site of a school in East Winston from day one. Please do not do that to that community and to those students who serve that community, who live in that community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. Next, we have Stuart Eden. Mr. Jabbar, you're next.
I'm going to preface this by saying that I look at the action items and I see community neighborhood initiative and I see climate, culture, and equity involved with this. So I pretty much think that everything I'm about to say has everything to do with your action items. My 22 years in public education classrooms here in North Carolina and in Gwinnett County, Georgia, the need to create a climate of equity and a strong positive school culture has been the foundation goal for each class I teach. Yet tonight I come not as a teacher, tonight I come as a parent. Inclusivity of all students in an active learning community strengthens schools and the districts they serve. That includes many students who might be overlooked in our classroom, especially students with special needs. And as a parent of a child in our public schools who has special needs, I'm asking that the school system's vision of climate, culture, and equity be as applicable to our special needs students. The Individuals with Disabilities Education Act has been on the books for over 40 years. No matter what curriculum is taught, what tests are required, or what measurements schools must pay attention to, this law is firm on how schools should approach the education of children with special needs. The verdict and findings that came from that recent case involving a child with special needs and the direct violations of IDEA that were discovered is concerning. I'm even more alarmed that there seems not to have been any action or reaction from the school system to begin to remedy what this case has exposed. I hope each of the board members has read the full 110-page verdict. What is detailed are actions taken to hinder a child's access to a constitutionally guaranteed quality public education within the least restrictive of environments. What happened in this case was the absolute opposite of what the law demands. And what the verdict in this case explains concerns only one student on paper. In reality, it concerns all students with special needs. The parents of this child had the resources to fight for their student onto the state level. They were willing to do this not only for the child, but for the families who have children that face similar obstacles. My family is one of those families. And this has shed a strong light on the problem that has existed in our school system for years. I can imagine someone saying, well, it's a matter of resources and funding. We might not have the funds to fully enact what every IEP may call for. It might take away from other students. Or someone could say, well, there are two sides to this issue. One could even claim that the judge's decision was a matter of judicial opinion. The law is the law. If there are not avenues to accommodate students with special needs, then we as a school system that preaches equity and choice needs to practice what we preach. And there are not two sides to this matter. The verdict is clear, concise, and convincing. The burden of proof was clearly all on the family, and every continuance that delayed the judge's decision was brought by the school system. You expect me as a professional to be inclusive in my classrooms. I expect the same of the school system.
Thank you. Mr. Alvord.
Good evening, Chairman Woodbury, Dr. Ashton, board members. How many people on this board, by a show of hands, were at any of these community meetings concerning Cleveland Avenue homes? None. To my point, we have placed on our agenda for an action item concerning a situation in our community where you're going to take the liberty to vote on it tonight. Mind you, no one was there. No one knows how the community feels about the plan. But yet, we're going to take the liberty to vote. I ask that this item be extracted from this agenda based on the fact that no one sitting in the school board attended any of those meetings. So how can you intelligently vote on something that you actually don't know nothing about? Thank you.
Thank you. Tia Buster.
Good evening,
Good
Chairman
evening.
Woodbury, Dr. Harrison. I speak on behalf of Parkland Magnet High School. I'm an English teacher. Action item, Larry Barron, he'll be the poet for continuing his workshops in our school. As an English teacher, I think that I've learned a skill of stringing words together to make them sound nice, but I thought I would bring in student testimonies to show his impact and why it's so important for you all to approve the budget for him to continue on with his workshops at our school. In guidelines with the district mandate to address social and emotional learning and balanced literacy, he encompasses all of that within his weekly 45-minute workshop rotations in our school. I'll begin with student testimonies from my senior English Honors 4 English class. LB has shown us how words can be meaningful, powerful, and worthy. He's bringing us together as a class and teaching us that everyone is different and we all can relate in certain things in life. He is doing great things. Another student. Before LB got here to my class, I would have never thought about writing poetry. I've never stood up in front of the class to read what I have written, but I did it with him and with ease. He also encourages me to write or talk about things I would normally just write about and keep to myself. And I feel like I relate to him because he was also a graduate from Parkland Magnet High School. He makes poetry cool and fun. From another student. When LB comes in the classroom, he changes my mind and my view of writing, and he seriously changes my view of poetry, which I didn't like previously to him coming in. He makes writing poetry interesting and makes speaking in front of the class seem easy. He makes it comfortable and judgment-free. The way he balances reading, writing, speaking, and listening starts us off by performing his poetry, while also allowing us to listen to each other in a way that we wouldn't normally do in a classroom setting. LB is an asset to Parkland because, for one, he graduated from Parkland, and he also wanted to start a poetry club and encourage his students to express themselves, write freely, and be in a judgment-free zone while doing all of these things. From another student. Having LB at our school doing workshops has been one of the most extraordinary experiences I've had in my whole high school career. As a senior, I wish he had been here when I was a freshman. I strongly believe LB can make a difference in classrooms, make those who don't write actually write, give those who are talented but quiet a platform for expressing themselves. He brings more to the table than any district mandate, and he brings the best out of us.
Thank you. Next we have Katie Son Lee.
Good evening, board and Dr. Harrison. I'm Katie Son Lee. I'm with Action for Equity. I noticed on the agenda the Choice Neighborhood Initiative as one of the agenda items. I wanted to bring up the idea that if the city wants you all to support this effort, then the city needs to sell the land so that we can build a new Ashley Elementary. That's in the same neighborhood, the same area. I'm not saying quid pro quo, it's a political term these days. But I think it's really important that y'all work together with the city. I know you have connections on your board with the city and with the county, and that we all work together to try and do the best we can for our kids. I think this could be a good program, but I want to make sure we're doing it exactly the way it needs to be done so that it really benefits the community in that area. Second, I noticed that the strategic planning process on the agenda. I wanted to make sure you all keep in mind the importance of addressing the historic and current racial inequities in this district. And we see over and over also that it's not just about race. You heard from a parent, several parents here actually tonight, who are affected by the district's policies around kids with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Because we see over and over again that often these students get pushed out of the wealthy white schools and into the lower income schools with higher percentages of black and brown students. And this furthers the perception in the community that the segregation of wealthy, typically developing white kids from everyone else in the district is the goal. And we know what that is built to do. It's built to advantage the wealthy, white kids and disadvantage everyone else. I hope that this will be addressed in the strategic plan and that you all will take into account some of the things that Action for Equity has put forward and that you've received that agenda multiple times. Lastly, I wanted to ask that when items are added to the agenda during the meeting, that the public has time to react and respond to those. When it's added at the beginning of the meeting, we've already signed up. I had to have a chance to sign the thing when I came in so I could speak tonight. And then there were new items added, and so I kind of had to scramble. Luckily, I'd already signed up, but you know, how do I have a chance to research that, to read the documents associated with it that are posted on the website, and to share our opinion with y'all. You're elected officials, you work for us, you should be able to listen to our voice. So when items do need to be added to the agenda, they should really be on there before the meeting. And if there are items that can't be on there before the meeting, I know things come up. There's 55,000 students in this district. A lot happens every day, I know. The public should be able to comment on them before you all vote. Either have another public comment section or push the vote to the next meeting. I know that you have the best intentions for this district at hand, but you need to show it by being really transparent and being a model of democracy and giving an opportunity for us all to give input. Thank you all.
Thank you. The next order of business is our discussion items, and first there is the Innovation Technology Showcase by Marty Creech and Karen Meyer.
Good evening, Chair Woodbury, Dr. Harrison, members of the board. I come with a new partner in creativity tonight, Karen Meyer. Karen Meyer is the new Director of Library and Media Services, and we have been collaborating on something pretty exciting that we wanted to share with you all publicly for the first time. This year, our students will be showcasing all of their innovations and creations that they've created at schools in an Innovation and Technology Showcase. The Innovation and Technology Showcase is going to happen in April. We're looking at April 23rd. We're looking at going to Innovation Quarter in downtown and using their big spaces there to basically think about science fair, but really cool technology projects instead of science fair projects. This came to fruition because a couple years ago the bond put some money toward technology in our schools, and we wanted to use this as a way to show the community what we're doing with the money in our schools. So each elementary school is going to have at least 3 entries. High school, middle school is going to have 6 entries. We're going to make this really, really great, fun day for the students and the community.
So I wanted to share with you kind of the why, because we're super excited about this, but why should we do this? So there's lots of reasons that we can do this. The number one reason is to increase student engagement. You know, when you pull in technology, students really get engaged as a way to express their learning. It also differentiates the learning process for students. We want to integrate the technology and digital literacy skills into content. So every every project that's presented is going to be connected to content that they're learning in the classroom. We're going to showcase the student innovation to the community. We want to show off what our kids are doing in the classroom and what they're doing in the schools and in the media centers. And it also helps us to build community support for innovation. So those are our primary goals for this project. So the categories, we just wanted to share with you the categories that the students are going to be submitting projects. In the elementary school, they're going to be doing video creation using the Wii video that you, the board approved a few weeks ago. Stop motion animation, which will probably also incorporate the Wii video as well. And then they'll be able to choose a category. In middle and high, the video creation, the stop motion animation, digital photography, coding and robotics, web design, and then an innovative mix, which can be, it can even be low-tech projects that they can turn in or submit for judging. So,
Carry on.
okay, carry on. So one of the reasons this came about partially because of a grant that Marty had gotten a couple of years ago in conjunction with Jackie Pearson, who's my predecessor, and working with media coordinators and really building that collaborative, the collaborative environment in that learning commons and making it a place where students are going to get innovation learning or innovative learning and innovative experiences. So that's kind of how this kind of came about. While media centers are the hub and the media coordinators have gotten a lot of training over the past year and a half, it's really a total school commitment. So, other teachers, it won't just be the media coordinator. Lots of teachers will be participating in it and sending projects to be on display. Do you need to add anything?
No, but we're pretty excited about this. This is something that we've been thinking about doing for a while, just to really show off. We went to Horry County, South Carolina, and saw theirs, and I was walking around with Kevin, and I was like, our kids are already doing this. Why are we not showing this off? We see A, B, C, D, F in the newspaper. Why are we not showing this type of stuff off that our kids are doing? So that's what excites us about it, and we're probably going to ask you to judge. What questions can we answer? Thank you.
Thank you. Our next discussion item is the Community and Neighborhood Initiative with Dr. Angela Hairston.
Thank you, Chair Woodbury and members of the board. I'm here this evening to request your permission to write a letter to go along with this grant to support the Choice Neighborhood Initiative in 2 ways. And the 2 ways that they have been asked to support has been 1, for data sharing, and 2, wraparound services for students in the schools. Data sharing is something we commonly do for grants that are coming to our organization, our school district, and wraparound services are somewhat of an automatic for all students depending on need. So I'm requesting permission to write a letter on behalf of the Board of Education of the school district indicating that should they receive this grant, we're not in the approval process, we're not endorsing the grant, we're asking for approval to write a letter indicating again that we would share data with the grantees, and we would, number 2, provide wraparound services for students involved in the project.
The wraparound services, can you describe what that might look like or be?
The wraparound services as we do now, that would be additional social work support. Typically that means meeting with the school community and all that are involved to decide what that looks like. So that could be additional medical support, medical health care support. I met with a group today. One of our local hospitals has dedicated a doctor just to work in that whole area. So it could be working with that doctor to ensure the students receive services. It could be additional tutoring. We're committed to the wraparound services that are needed at the time. That could be several years out. It could be next year. And we would do that anyway for our students. And we're just committed to do those 2 things. The data sharing is important because anytime we're involved or asked to share data about our students, we have an agreement, and we would have to bring that back to you all through an MOU, identifying the data points that they desire to review relative to the grant. And so this letter just endorses the fact that we will do those two things.
So to answer the concerns of some of the people who spoke during the public comment part, it doesn't sound like we're committing to putting a facility there.
That is correct.
Just services, but not a school or any kind of facility.
Right, we cannot do that at this time.
Okay, thank you.
Also, I do want to share that I definitely understand the concern if the thought is the board members, except Marilyn, because she just became a member tonight, don't know about the choice grant, which all of us have had conversations and updates about it as it relates to the purchase of the land. It just have happened in closed session because the land purchase is a closed session situation. So all of us here are abreast of the choice neighborhood grant. I was not able to go to, I don't think anybody was able to go because we were in a board meeting when they were meeting. So that kind of explains why we were not able to attend one of the meetings. But I would like Marilyn maybe to have some discussion or thought about, you know, your sensibility of where we are with this tonight. If you think you need more input before you could make a vote, I think that would be courteous of us to consider you just getting on the board and asking you to vote for something.
So I'm requesting permission to write a letter on behalf of the Board of Education and our school district supporting in these two areas.
Motion to approve permission.
Well, I think we'll get to.
Oh, that's later.
Yeah, we'll get to that later.
I'm sorry.
No problem, thank you for getting us ahead. Our next item is the Climate, Culture, and Equity Committee report by Board Member Kaplan.
Thank you. The Climate, Culture, and Equity Special Committee met on October 7th at 6 p.m. The meeting was called to order, and we welcomed our newest member, Charlotte Lindell from Forsyth Promise. It was announced that our new equity director is Essie McMillan, who will start on October 15th. We are thrilled to have her. We broke into small groups to continue our thoughts and discussions surrounding the 5 pillars of equity for the creation of our equity policy. We will have additional opportunity to complete our work on Google Drive later this month. Dr. Roseborough shared the equity audit tool, the MAEC instrument, which looks at classrooms, cultural relevance, community, and access opportunities. The questions sent to each school will wrap up on October 11th. Also, a panorama survey has been sent to families and community partnerships across the district, which will further help assist us with info on the 5 topics and make sure that we are aligned with our new policy. The data analysis will be available to board members to review the week prior to our next scheduled meeting on November 4th, and we're going to meet at 5:30 instead of 6 to allow for a little extra time. Our collected input and data will then go to policy in November for a draft. Meeting was adjourned.
Thank you. I would just make a quick correction. It's F-E-E-F-F-I-E, not S-C. I think, did you say S-E or F-E? Did you have S-E or F-E?
I think I said Essie. Sorry.
That's what I thought. It's F-E, no problem.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That was just a typo.
Okay. Any questions or comments? All right. So the next item again is by Board Member Kaplan with the Finance Committee report.
Thank you. The Finance Committee met today at 4. The meeting was called to order, and Frida Lashmidt gave us a 2019-2020 state budget update. In other words, there's still no update. She also updated us on teacher supplements. Each full-time teacher received $71.50 in their September paychecks, and we will hold off on the retro for August when the state decides on their budget. Kevin Sherrill and Frida Lashmidt gave a PowerPoint presentation on the business modernization solution. He compared and contrasted Tyler Technologies Munis to Cherry Road Oracle. Tyler Munis proved to be the best choice for our district. The next steps for Tyler's execution, implementation, timeline, and phasing, and these were all outlined, and you can find the details on the website. We voted to place it on an action item to approve on the October 22nd Board of Education meeting. The meeting was adjourned.
Thank you. The next item is the Buildings and Grounds Committee report by Board Member Crowley.
And we did not meet today.
The next item is the draft of the mission and vision for the strategic plan by Dr. Harrison.
And we want Dr. Cato.
Okay.
We'll have Dr. Cato come up.
Good evening, Chairman Woodbury, Vice Chair Burke, members of the board, and Dr. Harrison, members of the community. We are engaged in our strategic planning work here in the district, and I want to share some of that information with you all tonight. One of our new favorite sayings is from Dr. Harrison, that if you don't know where you're going, any old road will do. And so we want to get on the right road, and that's where we headed, and that's what we're working on. We're working with the North Carolina School Board Association is facilitating this work, and we drafted a mission and vision on Monday, and we're hoping that you will approve that draft tonight, and we're going to talk about the timeline that we're going to use for the rest of the year. And so to define what a mission is, a mission is a statement of the overall purpose of an organization. What are we here to do, and who are we here to benefit? To answer those three simple questions. And a vision, we want to inspire people. We want it to be inspirational. It gives some undergirding to a long-term plan of if you had a perfect school system, if you had a perfect world, what would it be? What would it look like? What would it accomplish? And so mission and vision statements are important. And so our previous mission and vision here in Winston-Salem, Forsyth County, just a couple of years old. It's here on the screen. Mission: Winston-Salem, Forsyth County Schools will provide students with educational opportunities that ensure they become responsible, productive global citizens. The old vision is the Winston-Salem, Forsyth County school system fosters educational excellence as all students prepare to become successful citizens. We worked with district leadership, school leadership on Monday with our facilitator to draft a proposed mission and vision, which are as follows. We would like our new mission to read as, the Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools will engage all students in high-quality, relevant learning experiences so they can graduate with interpersonal, academic, and workforce skills to compete globally and contribute to society. The proposed vision is that the Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools will be the best place to learn and work through excellence, collaboration, and inclusiveness, which is very important. And so the tentative timeline that we have with our consultant is we've done the work for the mission and vision, the initial work with our district leadership and school leadership. There's going to be, today we are presenting the draft to you guys. There's going to be some additional planning sessions with district leadership over the course of the year. There'll be opportunities for the community to give input as well into the strategic plan. And there's going to be opportunities for staff to also give input to the strategic plan. We have an online stakeholder input option as well that will become available in November. And we hope to have some work sessions with the board along the way as we go about drafting goals and action steps and objectives to make sure that we accomplish what we want to accomplish. And we hope to have a proposed plan presented to you for you all to adopt in February.
And may I insert the fact that, just to clarify, the mission and vision will remain in draft, until we bring back the final proposal or strategic plan. And so the approval would be for the draft form. As we go through this process, there may be some tweaking, some things we need to adjust, and so we're asking for approval of the draft.
Are there any questions that we would like to ask? Thank you.
Thank you. Our next order of business is the action items. The first action item is to consider approval of the Community and Neighborhood Initiative. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? The next item is to consider approval for, of the contract for the American Reading Company. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? The next item is to consider approval for the contract for Larry Barron. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve the contract.
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? The next item is to consider approval of the annual MOU with Family Services, Inc. Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any question or discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? The next item is to consider approval of the iStation contract. Is there a motion?
Dr. Hairston, would you mind just elaborating a little bit on this so that everybody can feel comfortable?
Absolutely. So iStation is our kindergarten through grade 3 assessment. We give it at the beginning of the year. We've already started that process. And at the end of the year, we're required to give those assessments. And that replaced the classwork that we used in previous years. And so this year, we had a little controversy over the iStation. And as a result of a lot of dialogue and discussion, received permission and decided to move forward, as all districts or most districts in North Carolina decided to move forward because we really didn't have another assessment tool. That assessment tool provides data. It provides information. In fact, I stopped into a school today and students were taking the retest and the progress monitoring, and it gives us information. It doesn't give us the modules or the next steps. To make it meaningful, we need to have the next steps for teachers. And so this is sort of an effort, not sort of, but an effort on our part to provide teachers with supports once they have the data. Looking at the data, good, we can plan around it, but we're asking teachers in absence of this product to devise their own plan. This is an easy plan to use for teachers. It provides a prescription for students and next steps. It's paid for out of Title I and Title $4. Title $2 will be used for the professional learning. So as we look at our Reading and our iStation, we felt it was necessary to support our teachers by providing them resources to move students as they get their assessment results.
Thank you.
The question I have is, if you've, I guess in your short time here, has been able to determine any schools that have used already iStation and could see any quantitative, well, I don't want to say quantitative, but it could see positive results from maybe using iStation that would lead us to try to get other schools on board with this.
So our team, I'm really proud of them. They not only asked the teachers to use the iStation at the beginning of the year, but they asked them to progress monitor each month to look at the validity of the work. Interesting enough, I just happened to be in a school today in a class. The student was taking the progress monitoring assessment that I already had at the beginning of the year, and you could see the growth that occurred with the student, which was really exciting for the teacher and for the student himself was a little fellow that was taking his progress monitoring assessment. And so I feel that this is going to give teachers good growth data. But what has to happen, we can't demand that teachers continue to put time into devising lessons and next steps once they have the data. We need to make that easier for them. And so this is an effort to make it easier for them, give them some tools, and also have a parent component. And they can use that information to give to parents so parents can work with children at home. So it's not just, it's really, we're not paying for the iStation software assessment that students say is something we're required to give. We felt obligated to not just have data, we wanted to give teachers a resource to help move kids. So today, I can say personally, I saw a student taking the progress monitoring assessment and he experienced growth, and you could see it almost immediately.
So one question I have, if we did not pass this, could you tell me, you're saying, you know, that this was to generate the data.
The next steps, not the data.
Okay, what, if we didn't have this, would there be any next steps? Can you kind of tell me? I mean, is it just no next steps if we don't have it?
We don't have it. The teachers would, what basically teachers would do is look at the assessment data, interpret some skill sets that are needed in the areas of, they would probably identify the skill sets that are needed and sit down and devise their own next steps. And we just don't think that's fair to teachers. Teachers spend a lot of time common planning their lessons, and this model varies depending on the student's performance. So the next steps for one student may look like something totally different than next steps for the next student. So the differentiated piece is what we value. If you, teachers probably going to devise a plan where everybody's next steps look the same, not because they don't care, but because of a lack of time. So we're hoping this will save teachers time, give them resources, and be able to take a student who's perhaps a little low on the side of skill sets and move them, and then take a student who's really high and push them. And this will vary the next steps for them.
So would you go over one more time, because I may have missed something, as far as where the monies will be coming from? I know you said time.
Kelly Hales, Dr. Hales is here, Dr. Hales, and this will come out of our Title I dollars, Title IV for our innovative practices, and Title II for professional development. So these are federal funds.
Great, thank you.
And just to be clear, Dr. Harrison, the expectations of the state to mandate an aspect of the iStation is more about software, or could you just be more clear about how the state expectations align with why we're doing what we're doing with iStation?
So the expectations, I'm pretty sure it's in the legislation. I'll have to defer to Sam. It's in legislation that we give students at the beginning of the year end of year assessment, and this is the beginning of the year assessment. So this is provided through the state and the assessment tool. What's not provided are the resources to move students once you give them the assessment. And so we feel this will give us an advantage. When teachers get their assessment tools, they'll be able to see the skill deficits and move kids according to skill deficits, as opposed to just sort of a guess. It'll be more precise, more prescriptive.
Yes. I'm sorry, what did you say that it replaced, Dr. Henderson?
I said classworks, but it wasn't classworks, it was M class, it was M class. As soon as I said that, I said it was M class.
And that did not have any resources to differentiate or to get into any children, correct?
When I used it, it did. Did we have resources within class?
So we use the data.
Why don't you come up, Sam, and come up to the mic and get me off of this hot seat here. But the state did not renew M class's contract, and so that's where iStation came in. So I don't know about the resources.
Yes, ma'am. And Dr. Harrison knows her stuff. So she's correct. Under state law, we have to screen kindergarten through third grade students at the beginning of the year. and the end of the year. In the past, the state had provided M-Class with us. So that was the time-consuming tool where teachers sat with students one-on-one. They went through all of the elements of early literacy acquisition and collected data from that. Included in that was the software where teachers would enter the data and they would create a report and help group students. And then created, when you have MOI or BOI, beginning of the year, middle of the year, and then end of the year, we could track students' growth and then really drill down in the data. Teachers would use that data to then identify what are sort of the next steps, as we've been talking about, to meet students' needs. We would group students accordingly based on that for small group instruction or intervention support. The state did not renew their contract in the bidding process with M-Class. And this year, the state is in the process, sort of that weird contractual legal limbo, and has identified iStation as being the screener for the tool for K-3. So we are not paying for that. We are asking to pay for purchase the pieces on the computer that the students will get that really drills down and targets their individual skill set needs.
Is it possible they're going to change the screen software anytime?
It's possible. It is in a state, and I don't want to step on Dion's toes to interpret where we're at, but right now, my understanding is that it is the state and iStation have entered into agreement where if in this contractual legal limbo, the state does not go with iStation, iStation won't charge any money to the state for that. And so because we are required under state law to do a BOI assessment of students, we kind of have this tight timeline of, do we buy something different? Do we use what the state is still telling us they're going to provide for free? And so we made the decision, along with many of our other large districts and neighboring districts, to go forth with iStation. And we felt very strongly that the next steps, those tools with iStation, would help continue to push student growth.
Is there a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any further questions or discussions? All in favor? Any opposed? The next item is to consider approval of the draft for the mission and vision for the strategic plan. Is there a motion?
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Before I read the next action item, I want to actually read what the resolution says, because of course we added this item so the public would not have had an opportunity to look at the resolution for the Big Four. And I'll say that it reads as, whereas the Big Four Alumni Association of Forsyth County, Inc. is comprised of alumni from John W. Paisley High School, Simon G. Atkins High School, Albert H. Anderson High School, and George W. Carver High School, 4 historically black high schools in Forsyth County, whereas the Big Four Alumni Association was formed by alumni of these schools for the purpose of celebrating the legacy and spirit of these historic high schools, whereas the Big Four Alumni Reunion was held in 1995, and with the dedication of its members, it has continued annually thereafter, whereas the Big Four Alumni Association has succeeded in its mission to positively impact the Forsyth County community through its volunteerism and community service initiatives, whereas among the membership of the Big Four Alumni Association are distinguished business and community leaders, whereas the Board of Education appreciates the efforts of the Big Four Alumni Association to support the Winston-Salem Forsyth County schools and students through tutoring, supply drives, mentorship, monetary contributions for scholarships, and advocacy. And whereas the Winston-Salem Forsyth County Board of Education acknowledges the historical and cultural significance of the Big Four Alumni Association and congratulates the members on its 25th reunion anniversary, therefore be it hereby resolved by the Winston-Salem Forsyth County Board of Education recognizes the Big Four Alumni Association of Forsyth County, Inc. for its important role in shaping the history of the Winston-Salem Forsyth County school system and the local community, and it congratulates the Big Four Alumni Association, Inc. on a successful 25th reunion anniversary event adopted by the Winston-Salem-Passaic County Board of Education this 8th day of October 2019. Is there a motion to approve? Second. Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. The next order of business is our consent agenda items. Is there a motion to approve the general personnel report, the September 24th, 2019 special call board meeting minutes, and the September 24th, 2019 board meeting minutes?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Our next order of business is our meeting that's open to the public. Before we begin the section of our meeting in which anyone can comment on anything, we say good night to our Cable 2 viewers. Thank you for watching. This concludes our broadcast. I would just ask again that we're mindful of the limit that
Thank you for joining us on your school channel, Cable 2.